Viltrox lens manufacturer just rocks the market right now. They put out a pretty cool Pro series of lenses, but they didn't stop right there, and they've put out a couple of pretty compact, affordable, and really good lenses. And today we're having a look at the 40mm f2.5 lens, which is actually shooting me right now. So let's review this. What's good, guys? My name is Oleg Nikitin and you're watching No Limits On channel. So in my hands right now I have a different lens. This is a 56mm f1.7 lens for cropped sensor cameras, and it's exactly the same size and weight as the 40mm full-frame lens f2.5, which is shooting me right now with my Sony ZV-E1. So let's have a closer look at the lens performance and the kit first. So in the kit you'll get the lens itself, the front and back caps of course, a tiny little sun hood, which is pretty plasticky but more than fine. The lens itself is made out of plastic of course, but the quality of this plastic is pretty fine. It doesn't feel cheap, but it's super lightweight. At the back of the lens we don't have any weather sealing, but we have the USB Type-C for firmware updates, and Viltrox does regularly update their lenses. It has 52mm front filter thread size, and also in the kit you'll find a pretty neat little pouch for carrying your lens. So all in all, for the price, the kit is really good, and I appreciate that they did put the pouch in it, because carrying the lenses in the pouches in your backpack is much more safe to not get scratched surfaces of your lens, of course, because it's a plastic lens. And right now, guys, I'm showing you a couple of shots taken with the 40mm f2.5 Viltrox lens on my full-frame camera. We also did have a little photo video shoot with my dancing friend. His name is Yegor. He's my big friend. You could see him on my channel previously, of course. And all in all, guys, I feel really comfortable with the 40mm equivalent. It's great for street photography, it's great for casual usage, and you still get some background separation, no matter it's an f2.5 lens, not like f1.8 lens, but later in the video I'll show you the comparison of different lenses with different apertures at about 40mm range, and you'll see how it compares. But first, guys, let's have a look at the distortion, vignette, and the sharpness at different apertures. So at f2.5 we see a slight barrel distortion, nothing too crazy here, and the vignette is pretty heavy at f2.5, but it really fastly goes away by f3.5, and by f5 it goes away completely. The center sharpness is really good wide open, but the corner sharpness does get a bit better when you step down to f3.5 and especially f5. And right here, guys, you can see the Viltrox 40mm on my full-frame camera with this type of shot. Let me say it's a cowboy shot. If I had a couple of revolvers in my pockets, you could see them. So also I here have the Viltrox 27mm f1.2 lens on my Sony FX30, which is a crop sensor camera. We have 1.5x crop factor, and if we multiply 27 by 1.5, we get around 40mm equivalent, guys. And in terms of the background separation and blur, it's an f1.2 lens, but when we apply the same crop factor, we get around f1.8 in terms of bokeh, let me say. So here are how those two lenses compare, considering that the Viltrox 40mm full frame is almost 2.5 times lighter and more compact than the crop sensor f1.2 27mm Viltrox lens. So how do you like the bokeh quality? How do you like the difference between those two, considering the huge difference in price and weight and size? And here, guys, you can see the difference when I'm a bit closer: 27mm on crop camera and 40mm on full frame camera. And right now, guys, I have my Sony 20-70 f4 lens set to 40mm, and here is the amount of background separation you get with this type of lens at f4. And here is the comparison with the f2.5 by Viltrox, and by the way, here it is with a little ND filter, but it's super small and compact. The minimum focusing distance is 34 centimeters, and at f2.5 we see slight chromatic aberrations and not the best sharpness, but if you step down to f3.2 and especially to f4, you'll get pretty good minimum focusing distance performance. It's not a macro lens by any means, but in the real world I did take this pretty close shot of my cat. Also, here is the shot when you hold it at your arm length. Of course, it's not a vlogging lens by any means, and you do have some issues with third-party lenses in terms of stabilization, because it doesn't work as good with third-party lenses as with native Sony lenses. And I did set my stabilization value to 40mm in camera, but still you get some micro jitters, and in those shots with my friend, a dancer, you can see some jerkiness in the active stabilization mode of my Sony ZV-E1. So you'd better use this lens either for photos or for video with a tripod or with a monopod with a gimbal, but be careful with using it handheld, you can get some jitters. In terms of focus breathing, I did stop this lens to f16 and try to pull focus from the minimum distance to infinity, and as you can tell guys, the focus breathing does exist, but it's not dramatic, so the videographers will be more than happy with this lens. It doesn't exhibit almost any focus breathing, to be honest. I've seen much worse. And in terms of autofocus, I did set the speed and sensitivity in my camera to the maximum values. And as you can tell guys, when I jump out of the frame, when I jump into the frame, we have pretty fast, almost instant autofocus without any lags or jitters. And when I get back from the camera, get to the camera, running, trying to mislead the system, it simply works great. So for photos and also for video, you'll be more than satisfied with the autofocus results. In terms of flares, we have a 1 weak spot when the sun hits from an angle from the side, and all in all we do have a loss of contrast, but to be honest guys, this flare's performance is average and you shouldn't expect anything crazy from this small of a lens. In terms of chromatic aberrations, I basically don't see any of them. Bokeh and traditional chromatic aberrations like lateral chromatic aberrations are almost non-existent, and if you stop down to f4, you'll get rid of them completely. Now let's have a closer look at the bokeh at night. We have a 7-bladed aperture, and when you take a look at the bokeh balls, they have a little soap bubble effect, but all in all the quality of those bokeh balls is great. We have 7-bladed aperture, and as you can tell guys, we don't have a lot of cat's eye shaping, no chromatic aberrations on the outlining or the onion ringing. Nothing too crazy, pretty good results in terms of the bokeh. And now let's compare it to the Sony 20-70 f4 lens at 40mm, 9-bladed aperture versus 7-bladed aperture, and we're stopping down to f8. And as you can tell guys, we have more corners of those balls with the Viltrox, but other than that, pretty good results. I like the quality of this lens's bokeh. And finally, let's have a closer look at 500% scale of the corner of the shot, and we're looking for chroma smearing. At f2.5 it does exist, it gets better by f2.8 and completely goes away by f3.5. And now let's step down to f16 to have a look at the sun stars. By f11 they get pretty strong, and by f16 they are very pronounced and really high quality. I love those sun stars. To conclude guys, for $170 you get a lens that has pretty good optical performance, not that many flaws to be honest. Of course it's a plastic lens, but you don't need to throw it all around like, you know, playing football with it. But other than that, it checks almost all the boxes. Good performance in terms of the sharpness, the size and weight is great, the bokeh is nice, the background separation, and it's a full frame lens. Autofocus is pretty flawless as well, and I would consider this lens as a backup lens because 40mm is such a versatile focal length. We have pretty good background separation, and also it doesn't weigh anything. Basically you won't feel it in your backpack, and if you drop your main lens, I'm not sure you don't want to do this, but if you do so, you'll have a backup lens, that's for sure. And for 170 bucks, having a pretty versatile lens as a backup is a nice option. Also, you can take this lens with you to your travel, to your vacation. I love 40mm focal length for almost everything, including street photography. And just imagine pairing this lens with the Sony ZV-E1, for example, and having a very lightweight setup, but still a full frame and with really good image quality. So I think that this lens does cost every single penny that Viltrox is asking for it. So please guys, let me know in the comment section below, do you like those types of lenses? By the way, Viltrox has 3 of those lenses in the lineup: 20mm f2.8, 56mm f1.7 for the crop sensor cameras, and this 40mm f2.5 full frame lens, which I'm planning to keep. Really enjoyed using this lens. So please drop a comment down below. Is it a good lens? Is it a good value? Would you buy one? And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them down below as well. If you did enjoy this video, please smash the like and subscribe buttons and hit the notifications bell. And right here I have a review of my favorite APS-C lens from Viltrox, 27mm f1.2, the best APS-C lens, bang for the buck. That's for sure. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you in that one. Take care. Bye.